We then started wondering why they dug it, because it turns out the prison camp was actually more like a holiday camp. This is the swimming pool?
Yep, that's the one.
Well, there's no way I'd escape.
No, me neither. There was a proper hockey rink right here.
What?
What? Yeah, there was a huge sport field right behind those trees. And during the winter, they've built a huge hockey rink.
So they had a sports pitch, a swimming pool.
Library.
Library?
Theatre.
What?
Theatre.
Are you quite sure that wasn't people trying to tunnel in?
Yeah.
The guide then showed us what he meant by a theatre.
Oh, my God.
No.
350 seats, orchestra pit, stage, backstage.
Was it built as a theatre?
Built as a theatre.
I thought you meant it would be like a shed that they used.
Yes, I thought
when
it like it ain't half hot, Mum. God all bloody mighty.
Today is May 1st, 1995. Our survivor is Julius Herzog.
On the edge of the buildings, there was a small swimming pool.
For who?
For anybody who wanted to use it.
You could go swimming?
Yeah, I remember we came once from work in the morning. It was cold. It wasn't. I just felt like jumping into the pool. And I did, but I got out fast because it was like almost ice in there.
They had a camp in Birkenau, and they had a swimming pool. We used to see them swim in the pool, and they were given food. We could talk to them through the wire.
I still have a tooth filled in my mouth that was done in Auschwitz. It was a prisoner, had to be an excellent dentist because it's still there, and it's going back a few years. But the tooth was done, the tooth was fixed. There was a hospital in Auschwitz. I had mumps in Auschwitz. I remember the black glue, some foul-smelling thing that they put on a gauze, and then they put it right around my neck. And it was very nice to be in the hospital because they gave you white bread. So this is a hangover from an old European custom that only the sick ate white bread.
It seems strange. This is a camp that was set up to kill people. Why did they bother to have a hospital?
I couldn't tell you. There were so many unexplainable behavior patterns in the camp. This one, and having spoken to some of my fellow survivors, they were relating the same thing. Just unexplainable. There is no rhyme or reason behind it. There was a hospital. There were all, to put it in a nutshell, the entire Auschwitz compound, including Birkenau, the entire compound was totally self-sufficient. I mean, there was farming being done. It was totally self-supporting. Farming being done, crops were being grown, naturally hospitals were there were dental work being done, as we've just discussed it. For all intents and purposes, it was like a small village with all the facilities in place. Bakery, shoemakers, carpentry was being done. I remember at one point they were fitting railway cars, converting cattle cars into hospital cars by putting wooden beds into it. In fact, I worked on that detail for a while. So everything was available, name it. So really, that's the only way I could reply to your question.
There is something that I want to point out. It is that even though the Germans were so much against the Jews, strangely enough, or maybe because we were Spanish Jews, I don't know, but when the holidays came around, for instance, on Yom Kippur, they brought us the soup that they used to bring every day in the evening when you were supposed to eat the meal before going into fasting. And then they brought the next day, they didn't bring anything until the next evening. I mean, when the fast was over. And this was one thing that always surprised me. How come, knowing that of course, that we were Jews and that they hated us so much, they did allow us to keep that tradition. And yet they did.
I'd like to ask you another question about your time in Auschwitz.
You had people in camp that had sport activities. You had sake games. You had a swimming pool over there that you had swimming exhibition. You had a theater.
They have also movies there, theaters there in Auschwitz. And those people who have this kind of job, they have to go and see those movies.
Did you have any free time in Auschwitz?
Free time? Well, after work, after work, yeah, when you finish the job, you had your supper, and you had free time. You can do They go out on the outer block, but other things. Sometimes they organize some concerts over there.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they organize
some?
Yeah, sure, they organize a concert. I mean, on the free stage.
So anyway, in Auschwitz was routinely, and matter of fact, every second week they took another group of people, 200, 300 people. We had to go to see a movie.
What did you do during the day in the barracks? Did people make up games or talk about things? What was going on?
Right in the center of the barrack, there was like a long bench. You could sit there and play cards. There was some water, running water.
You tell me there was a concert in camp.
Yes, there was a concert. I mean, I couldn't believe it. What's happening in the hell? There is a concert.
Because we're feeling good. You know, we can eat well, we live well. So we begin to rehearse, and I do the Charles Trenet songs, and I do the Maurice Chevalier, and I do the bantering. We have this upper floor where we do the music in one of those blocks, and this was for the prisoners. Except that the SS came to listen to it. They needed the entertainment as badly as anybody else. So the first couple of rows were always for them, and then the prisoners, usually mostly prominent people behind them, and then some smart alecky prisoners who knew a good thing when they saw it, who came there. It is absolutely inane when you talk about this, but this actually took place.
This is a United States Holocaust Memorial Museum interview with Mrs. Alice Tyroler. How do I say your last name?
Tyroler.
So tell me a little bit about your daily life in Novaky.
One day in camp, for some reason they built a swimming pool in camp. I was a very good swimmer, so we swam over there.
And when you did good work, you got a coupon. And you could go and get some mussels in mustard sauce in a camp. Mustard sauce. Cigarettes, American cigarettes cost 4 times, Polish cigarettes cost half, camp cigarettes homemade cost less. They had salami, they had bologna, they had Seltzer.
I went to Auschwitz in September of 1992 to see for myself this place that I have studied for so long. I paid extra for a personal English language tour guide, a young lady named Alicia who gives tours in Polish, German, and English. My parents are both Jewish, so if you're a Jew by birth, you're a Jew by birth. It's not anything I'd be ashamed of. But what don't they show you? To start with, a building which could conceivably be called the Block of Life. A massive disinfestation complex where Zyklon B gas was used daily to combat lice and the disease they carried. These were the real gas chambers, except their victims were clothing and mattresses, and their purpose was to preserve the health of the inmates. Holocaust experts don't deny the purpose of this building, they just don't like mentioning it. Also forgotten is the Auschwitz Camp Theater. The last pictures taken inside this building showed pianos and costumes and a stage where the inmates used to put on productions. These days, however, the nuns don't allow pictures to be taken inside. And finally, we have the Auschwitz swimming pool. Yes, that's right, swimming pool. Situated inside the prison compound, right alongside the inmates' barracks. A beautiful pool with a diving board and starters blocks for races. To their credit, the Auschwitz camp officials have not tried to remove this distraction, but if you want to see the pool, you need to know already that it exists, because you won't find it on the tour.
This is one of those things one wouldn't expect in Auschwitz, a swimming pool. There are some testimonies about gypsy children swimming here, because there was one of the buildings where they kept gypsy prisoners. There were some prisoners using it.
Why was there an orchestra in Auschwitz?
Well, you know, there wasn't just an orchestra in Auschwitz, there was an orchestra practically in every camp. You may well ask why. We had a job to do. We played marches for the, you know, there were all these factories surrounding Auschwitz and other concentration camps. And we were extremely privileged, because I know that really I found that out afterwards. If you compare it with a men's orchestra, for instance, in Birkenau, they had to go out to work during the day. We didn't. We went back to the block and we rehearsed music. Then there were quite a few singers there, sort of arias from Butterfly and whoever was, Peter Kreuder was the in thing, Zara Leander, you know, these, I suppose, pop songs of the time.
Und da stand eine Frau und die Frau hieß Tschaikowska. Sie war eine Polin und sie war Musiklehrerin. Und sie hat den Auftrag bekommen von der SS, ein Orchester zu gründen, ein Mädchenorchester in Birkenau. Und sie hat das also versucht. Sie hat dann, ist von Block zu Block gegangen und hat gesucht nach irgendwelchen Musikerinnen oder irgendwelchen Leuten, die eben ein Instrument spielen können. Und sie sagte zu mir, du bist aufgenommen. Und das war mein Glück. Denn nun brauchte ich nicht mehr aufs Feld zu gehen, um zu arbeiten.
We also had an orchestra where some of the musicians stood together, and one musician was so good that he had the instruments playing and he wrote the notes, so later on we had a band who played over the weekend. And that was, of course, helping us. You know, we also did plays and stuff.
Were there any cultural activities happening in Auschwitz?
Yes. I told you we had a piano put into not just a piano, a grand piano was brought into Block 1. Once that was built, that new block, the downstairs room was assigned for theater. When he wanted to build a stage curtain in that new Block 1, which was the big dining room was going to be also with a stage, so performances could be done for women there, cultural. He said, for heaven's sake, isn't there anybody here who can help me sew on these curtain rings for the stage? I do it for you, he says. And I came forward and I helped him with the curtain stage, and that was wonderful because I had a man sitting across me for a change. And so from each instrument has only a short line on the whole paper. So I had to take it apart and write for each instrument. But then she saw me work there. I had a big table where I could work and lay out all the paper, and it was very peaceful and relaxing. And Otto wanted to talk more to me. That is when I met that SS man at one time. That was the last job I did while I was in Auschwitz. And when the other job, when I was in Block 10, we went out to pick the leaves. And from these leaves, they would make tea for the whole camp, for the whole Auschwitz.
How did you entertain yourselves?
Well, there were at the beginning of those days, there was a library where people could get books to read. There were newspapers which we could get, and also among ourselves sometimes we had a violin quartet used to come and play in barracks. And later on, they said they're going to build a movie in the camp. And the president said, Olive, you must be crazy. They're going to make a movie for us in the camp. And really it happened. They made a movie in the camp. Yeah, and we went in barracks after barracks. We could go to see a movie sometimes in the evening. They brought movies in to see in the evening. But once I came to the main camp, we were allowed twice a month to write home. Once a postcard and once a letter.
They gave you the materials?
Yeah, they gave us the letter, the materials, and we could.
And in the camp you could have currency? You could
Yeah,
have...
we could have money because there was in camp also what they call a cantina. After the money stopped, the regular money stopped, we got paid in coupons then.
Paid for your work?
Well, I don't know if it was for whatever we got paid for in coupons, for which were redeemable in the cantina if they had something. So that was their way of distributing money. Then to everybody, everybody got this money then.
Of course, what we did is for the weekends we got together, we got a group of us together, and we made a soccer team, which was a little later, where we played soccer.
Well, it's amazing that there would be a soccer team, that there'd be enough energy left to do something like that.
Well, I don't think we were quite as energetic as we were with the other regular team, but...
So in 1944, we had soccer games in Grossrosen. Soccer teams, we organized very well. Soccer teams, each nationality organized a soccer team. And we organized our equipment, everything, and play soccer on the assembly line.
Freddie Hirsch called me to the children's barracks he was heading then, and he asked me if I could paint something on the wall for the children. And I said, well, if you can get the materials, he said, I'll get the materials. I said, okay. And so before I knew it, Freddie had the stuff ready for me, and I started painting. At first, not knowing what, I looked at that huge drab, it was kind of olive-colored, like all the barracks were, wall, and I thought, well, the thing to do is to make it look like we are in a Swiss chalet on the deck, and there is a balustrade with flowers on flower pots on it, and we are looking out at the beautiful meadows and maybe see some cows and sheep and stuff. And I started painting, and then I noticed that all the kids were standing around me, behind me. So I turned around and I asked them if they would, do they have any special wish what to put in that meadow? And they said Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. So I made a painting of Dopey standing on another dwarf's head with a cloak around him, so he looked like a tall guy, so he would be as tall as Snow White. And they were dancing together, and the shoes, those soft shoes and everything. And the kids loved it, and I made some other dwarfs around, one who was playing the accordion. I think that was Grumpy, the mean one, and the professor with the glasses. I made almost all the dwarfs standing around. Some of them were clapping, and that's what the kids liked. I now understand that there was another painter who continued something, painting on the walls after I've left. I don't know about that. And I don't know about the costumes, what they made costumes out of, but the play was very successful because the little girl who was playing Snow White had an incredible voice, a gorgeous soprano, just like the one that you hear in the movie. When it was put on, suddenly some SS men appeared, and they watched.
I grew up to believe that my family was turned into soap. I'm telling you the truth. We used to call them sabon, which means soap, you know. And it was only 10 years ago where Yad Vashem admitted that the soap was complete, you know. And then the next question that I wanted to ask is, what kind of people invent such a lie? Why did we invent such a lie? Did people want to make us into soap?
If you lie about soap, you can lie about
everything.